Paternity test says I might have 3 dads. I got the results, and it just might ruin my life.
Mamma Mia, here we go again. This is like the plot of Mamma Mia.
All right, but this story was submitted to r/okopshow by Okay, Here We Go WTF. Thank you so much for sending that in. And if you want to send in your stories, you can go to r/okopshow or call our line 440-508-6567. We're going to be playing your voicemails and inviting some of you on the freaking show.
Call our line, girl.
Please do. But without further ado, Sam, let's get into it. I have been waiting to get this off my chest because it's such a crazy story, but I haven't shared publicly as to not embarrass the family. When I saw this call for DNA stories on OKOP Show,
that's us.
I couldn't wait to get to my computer and start typing. Fall 2020, I, 35 female, was approached by my 37 female sister, Chloe, about getting a 23andMe kit.
First mistake.
First mistake.
Don't inquire about the blood of your family.
You can't do it. I have always wanted to get one done out of curiosity about our lineage. So when Chloe said 23andMe was doing a half off sale, half off the product,
and half off your family.
Your life.
You're gonna split your family in half.
Yep. I was totally game. I mentioned how fun it might be to find a long lost relative or solve a cold case. Damn, OP's trying to start their own podcast. What the heck? Her thoughts were elsewhere though. Chloe and our mom do not get along all that well, partly due to her frequent lying. All of our lives, Chloe has teased me about being adopted.
Oh no.
Us not looking alike and just being so different. She is practically the twin of our father, whereas I tend to look more like our mom. I laughed because my sons look like the complete opposite of each other, and I know they have the same father. Plus, my oldest son has some of the same features as my dad and sister, eyes and height. He didn't get those from me or my husband, so I was certain that my dad was my dad. Nonetheless, we ordered the kit and giggled to ourselves about how mom would be f***ing bricks if she indeed had a secret and knew that we had taken a DNA test.
Did you tell your mom?
I don't think so. Chloe and I have a younger half-sister, Kim, 27 female. Besides my husband, she is the only family member that we told. So
only family member that you told about getting the 23andMe kit DNA test. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. She did not take a test since she was saving up money. The test kits came within a week. The super organized sister that I am, I submitted my sample the very next morning. Chloe, the procrastinator, took a good week or so to submit her sample. I checked my phone daily to see where the kit was in the process. And finally, after about a month, I got an alert on my phone that the results were in.
Exciting. And what are the results?
What did it say? I was in the middle of packing for Thanksgiving travel to my in-laws, but I stopped everything. One of the jokes Chloe said is if I do not see any Polish, then panic. Our paternal great-grandmother came from Poland, so it didn't show up in my DNA. That's a red flag. I know somebody else who had some family members from
I had some
Poland?
family members in Poland.
I called Chloe immediately. There is no Polish. Red alert, red alert. I searched through my paternal matches and I did not recognize anyone.
Oh,
Just a lot of French sounding names and relatives in Canada. My dad is not French and we do not have any relatives in Canada. I searched through my maternal matches and I recognized names. Well, I knew my mom is my mom at least. Since procrastinator Chloe submitted her test a week after me, and that being a holiday week, we had to just sit and wait.
Right, because you want to see it, do the results match up.
Is this my full sister?
Yeah.
Or my half-sister? I was so grateful that we were not at our mom's for Thanksgiving. That would have been hella awkward, and I don't think I would have been able to contain myself.
Yeah.
Understandable. The first week of December, I was working from home and helping my children with virtual school because we were still in the middle of a pandemic. I got a frantic call from Chloe. She cries and says, "We are half-sisters."
Not full sisters.
Not full sisters.
Because mom did some dirty, some wee baguette, stuck his baguette where it don't belong.
My head was spinning. I couldn't comprehend what I was hearing. Even though the lack of Polish was a red flag, I truly did not expect this result. We got on the app and went down every rabbit hole trying to figure out what that meant, how it happened, etc., etc.
Most likely, OP is the one that doesn't have the same dad, or like the dad that she thinks is her dad.
But could be both. We don't know Chloe's results
That's
yet.
true.
We don't know. Because this was surely a mistake. We call Kim and all three of us cry, vent, and laugh. From here on out, I will refer to my dads as, please line up the contestant dads. Sam, can I get a little background music? Dad number one, the one I was told was my dad and is Chloe's confirmed dad. Dad number two, the one who raised us and is Kim's confirmed dad. Dad number three, my biological dad. I called dad number two to see if he had any information because he knew me since I was in diapers. I was close with him and he even walked me down the aisle when I got married. As soon as he picked up the phone, I burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably.
Oh.
I hadn't said the words aloud to anyone outside of the sister circle and my husband. I was surprised at the emotions coming out of me. After what felt like an eternity, I finally got the words out. He was freaked out by the whole situation and said he didn't know anything. Chloe had contacted dad number one's mom to ask some questions about the Polish component. Obviously, Grandma put it together and figured out why Chloe was calling. Grandma called me to check on me. When I answered the phone, I exclaimed, "Grandma!" She laughed and replied, "Ha, Grandma." She is brutal but hilarious. She told me that she loved me, that it didn't matter. She didn't know anything about it, and to maybe not tell dad number one. That night as I went to bed, having no clue who I was, why I have a local cousin named Pierre, and if I would ever find out who my dad truly was.
I love all these French connections. Like Pierre.
My sisters and I decided that we would drive 5 hours to confront our mother and solve the mystery. Man, this is a freaking journey.
I'm excited about.
My goodness. The next morning, before we left our confrontation trip, dad number two called me and told me to sit down. He knew who the father was.
He knew?
Dad number two knows. He knows.
And it's not dad number one.
We got a new daddy entering the chat, and he needs to chill. He was in shock the night before that he froze and couldn't say anything. He told me the story of how my married 21-year-old mother was hooking up with the 19-year-old grocery store worker while dad number one was out of town.
Oh.
Damn, the groceries wasn't the only thing he was bagging him. Am I right, boys? My mother confessed this to dad number two when they were dating.
Confessed to cheating on dad number one to dad number two.
Yes. He responded by telling her that he didn't want to know anything about it and it was up to her to tell me. Oh, and that 19-year-old she hooked up with, well, they reconnected in 2011 after her second divorce and they got married.
Wait, what?
Yep.
So dad number three
is her current stepdaddy.
But is actually her real daddy.
The plot twists and characters and plot lines and...
That's crazy.
There we have it. My biological father is actually my second stepfather. So my mother got married at 18, had her first child, Chloe, at 19, cheated throughout that marriage, and had me at 21, got divorced at 23, started dating dad number two immediately, married him at 28, and had her last child, Kim, at 29, divorced again by 40 for, you guessed it, cheating. Then she married the love of her life, quote unquote, by 50.
Wow. And the love of her life was the guy that she was cheating on with originally.
Way back in the day, from 19 to 50
Dang.
years old.
That's like, I mean,
some flames don't die.
Yeah, I know. I like kind of cute in a up way.
After hearing the news of my true paternity, I was still in disbelief about whether dad number three was in fact my real father. I picked up Kim and we drove all afternoon to meet Chloe. Also, is this the Kardashians or like...
Yeah. Kim, Chloe. Maybe these are fake names for...
Smart OP. Together, we drove to our mom's house and we were about 10 minutes away. We called her to say that we were all together and we needed to talk.
Uh-oh.
Here it goes. She was panicking but didn't have a clue about the bomb we were about to drop on her.
This is a big bomb.
We walked into the house, pulled up some chairs in the dark living area like some kind of intervention or something, and told her that we know that dad number one is not my father. She pretended to be shocked and flabbergasted. Then after some prompting, she somewhat confessed that she had an affair around the time I was conceived. We had been ready to forgive her after she came clean, but the rambling excuses, blaming, and lying made us furious. She didn't even know how birth control worked. Oh my gosh, third shots. Her parents didn't tell her they were proud of her. She was just a little girl, etc. Okay, so these were the list of excuses that she was giving as to why things had happened. She went back and forth between saying that she didn't know for sure and that she didn't tell me because she didn't want to hurt me. She divorced dad number one when I was a baby, and a DNA test was offered as part of the divorce. She declined. As a baby, I did not have an attachment to dad number one, and it would have been so easy to just be honest and let dad number three be my actual father. Right. Like she had the opportunity.
Yeah. She had the opportunity to give OP like the father that was actually her father. And she chose not to.
Maybe there's some plausible deniability, but she at least knew that there was a high chance,
which is why she didn't do the DNA test.
Exactly.
Or the paternity test, because she's like, oh, maybe this will tell me something that I don't want to know.
Just continuing to live in uncertainty.
In the darkness.
And he was downstairs listening to the whole confrontation, just elated. According to him, he begged to be my father and she wouldn't let him.
Why?
Gotta
Slap
get
that shit.
Good spanking.
Slap it.
She promised to tell me when I was 18. OP is 35. That's a few years late, guys.
Yeah, 35. That's like almost twice the age she was going to do it at.
After 18 came and went, he called her to check in on me. She took that as an opportunity to leave a bad relationship and moved in with him. Him calling to check up was the spark of her
getting back together
with him after all those years. She told him that she was moving in with her parents, but just started bringing her stuff over and boom, they were a couple. When he brought up the paternity conversation, she insinuated that maybe they could tell me after they get married. So they got married, and when he asked, she told him no, and that I would never know the truth.
Why is she trying to keep it away? Why? I guess it makes her look bad.
Yeah, I think that's it. And it sounds like she's
pretty
compulsively lying.
Yeah.
After that emotional roller coaster, Chloe and I still needed to tell dad number one. We were worried about his reaction, but agreed that the lies needed to stop. Growing up, he had visitation with us, which turned into a handful of times a year, and I never really bonded with him. But we cared for each other in our respective roles of father and daughter. Chloe, dad number one, and I drove down a long road and told him. He said it didn't matter and he would adopt all of us girls.
That's really nice.
He cried periodically and complained about child support. We sat at a bar and had some drinks and let the news sink in. We didn't talk about it. But of course, a man came over to us to say hello to dad number one and Chloe. After instructions were made, he exclaimed that I was too pretty to be his daughter.
What?
This man had no idea that just an hour earlier, we found out that he is correct. I am not his daughter. This man named Stacy was also the largest, burliest man with the deepest voice I have ever met. Not important, but just adds to the holy hell, this is just bizarre situation. We all stared at him and tried to awkwardly laugh it off. Kim joined us, and after some drinks, I left to be alone because I was exhausted. I slept, ordered pizza, and was just dazed for the rest of the day. My sister proceeded to get hammered at the bar with dad number one. Chloe makes a big scene wailing and blubbering to everyone about the whole situation until I pick her up from the bar because she was a puking hot mess. Oh, nice. Goodness. We both agreed that we needed to set a match to the whole damn town because they were all crazy and we were over it. Over the next year and a half, I finally had married parents. It was a nice and easy way to get to know a surprise parent. Less weird than meeting a stranger, although he was still kind of a stranger. After that second divorce and a string of men that were the one, I kept a distance from anyone that my mom was dating. Even when she married dad number three, OP's actual biological father, I was hesitant to get to know him. I didn't live nearby and I wasn't going to get to know him just for them to break up. Knowing that he is my dad, I feel awful that he was in the background bursting and wanting to tell me and wishing to connect. He has been more relaxed and talkative since all of this came out. Now we talk about twice a month on the phone. He even drove 9 hours round trip to take me to lunch on my birthday this year since he has never spent a birthday with me. Some people think it's sweet that my parents got together and maybe it was written in the stars for them to reunite or something. But in reality, they were already divorced and he was struggling with trusting her not to cheat. Did I forget to mention, I now have a half brother, 21 male, and a half sister, 26 female. As if it couldn't get any crazier.
Oh my goodness. The family members keep coming out of the woodwork.
The whole town is just like, oh, actually, we're all your brothers. The whole bar is like, we are family. We were introduced when they were just tweens and met a few times at different family events. I'm getting to know them now too, slowly but surely. I got Kim a 23andMe kit for her birthday and confirmed that dad number 2 is indeed her dad. They're basically twins, so it wasn't really a question.
You wanted to get another 23andMe kit after this crazy fallout?
I mean, they low-key needed to make sure that
that it was all up and up.
Dad number 2 felt relieved knowing for sure. Sorry for the long post. There's so much to cover, and I'm certain I forgot or didn't include all of the side stories.
Sheesh.
Woo, my goodness.
I'm glad OP actually found who her real dad was, though.
Same.
After so long.
Oh my God.
So many dads that are possibilities.
That is insane. And what's also so crazy to me is that was OP listening to this show, and she saw our post about, hey, if you have any DNA tests, we would love to hear them.
And she's like, boy, do I got one for you.
Wow. OP, I'm glad you at least had a place to share.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're part of the OK fam.
For real. My goodness gracious. Maybe the question is this. If you could have like a magic time machine and you could see all of the things that happened, would you want to go back in time and never know this whole mess?
Are you glad that you know now? That's what I'm curious about. Is the truth better than whatever you were living before?
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah. Well, we're very grateful that you took us on this wild journey, but we're going to get into this next story now. I'm ending my 5 years of marriage over a paternity test my mother-in-law requested. Am I the asshole?
Sometimes you get a request and then you have to submit another request for divorce. All paperwork, baby.
All paperwork.
That's how we got to do it.
All requests lead to more requests.
And all requests.
They say, give a dog a bone and it asks for the skeleton.
You give someone a DNA test, they ask for a divorce. Bingo.
I don't know where to start. This whole situation is embarrassing and I am just done with it. I've been with my husband for 5 years now, married for 3. Well, long story short, his mom was always overwhelming and bold with her input, to put it nicely. I generally think it's not fair to be mad at your partner for something he didn't do himself. He can't control what his mom does or says. But what's also not fair is him not addressing it when I am clearly uncomfortable or upset, and instead just talking me into brushing it off or going with it. Hey, I know my mom's being acting a little crazy, but just get over it.
Yeah, it's just ignore it.
It's just mom being mom.
If she attacks you, just be like, give her a little juke. You know what I mean? Get better at football, bro.
Yeah, come on. I never, nor would I ever, have a back and forth with my mother-in-law. Just not worth barking at each other, right? So OP doesn't want to fight.
Makes sense.
I always kind of just brush it off if it's a snarky comment or if it's a better way to do something in her opinion. I'll just tell her, thanks for the suggestion, but we are fine.
Smart.
It's actually true the saying, when you marry someone, you marry their family. I think the way to handle it is each spouse should keep his side of the family in line, for lack of a better way to say it, which is all right, if my family's out of line, I'll say something. If your family's out of line, you say something.
That's on you, bro.
I deal with my parents and their shenanigans, and I expected him to do the same. He never did. He always asked me to give her some grace, which I feel like is a little bit of a red flag if you're not going to bat for your significant other.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard when that person is insulting you too. For a while now, she has been making comments about how my son doesn't look like my husband when he was a toddler. Basically, accusing me of sleeping around.
Oh, no.
This rightfully upset me. Sorry, my genes are strong. What did I tell ya? I was short with my husband because he didn't address how out of pocket and disrespectful this whole thing was. It's been a week since my husband, well, soon to be ex-husband, told me he would be doing a paternity DNA test.
Oh.
Not because he thinks that it's not his son, but he wants his mom to shut up.
Babe, I just want my mom to get off her back. You know what I mean?
How about you nut up and just tell your mom to get off your back yourself? Yes, exactly what you read. I don't know which one is worse, him accusing me of cheating or this shit, but all I know is this is audacious. I didn't cheat, and I am not concerned one bit about the test results. I wasn't going to stop him from taking a DNA test or whatever, but I just know I don't want to deal with this any longer. I'm looking for an apartment, and I talked to a lawyer the day after he brought up the DNA test. I've been acting more than normal since. So OP's not letting anything clue the husband in that she's thinking about leaving him. We'll be getting the results in 2 days. I can't wait. He will also be getting divorce papers with that too.
Ice cold.
I know for a fact he won't see it coming. I tried my best to make this whole thing work and manage my relationship with my mother-in-law as gracefully as possible. Thinking about it, it's not just my mother-in-law that's the problem, but how he's handling things that's the problem.
Bingo.
And side note, I've never been more glad that I didn't leave my job when I got married. He makes more than enough to take care of the financial side of things. I thought I would get bored. I only have to be on site 2 days a week, and I really do love my job and the company, so I didn't leave. Best decision I ever made. He is unreliable, to say the least.
We stand an independent queen.
So OP's got income, so it makes it easier for her to leave her husband.
Love that.
I know that divorce can be hard on kids, but I experienced the other side. Living with two parents that hated each other and violently fought almost all the time is hard, maybe even harder. They thought that staying together would be good for me and my siblings. Newsflash, it wasn't. It was traumatizing to say the least. I don't remember. I either read somewhere or maybe my therapist told me that when you fight with your spouse, you shouldn't see it as me versus you, but more like me and you versus the particular situation or problem on hand and try to figure it out. But it's really hard to do that when you start hating that person. I love that idea of like, it's not me versus you, it's the problem and us.
It's kind of like
it's a reframing.
Yeah, there's you, me, and the relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's externalize this thing so we don't end up
hurting the relationship,
coming at each other.
Yeah. And you want to protect the relationship.
100%.
I don't want my son to live like that because I tell you one thing, I can't stand my husband anymore. I don't know if this is a weird way of saying it, but I just don't respect him anymore, if that makes any sense, which I think it does make sense.
Yeah, I get it.
I just see an unreliable man, and I know for a fact that our fights won't be the same as before. I would have said, what a waste of 5 years, but I have a sweet and smart gremlin now, and having a child really pushes you to be better and to do better, so I can't complain, and there is an update. So, and it's pretty juicy, so we'll get into that. But what do you think about just like OP leaving in this way? What do you think about her keeping it secret too?
I think that what do we always say on the show, Sam?
There's got to be some like red flags. And I think OP saw the red flags in the mother-in-law, but like just like kept ignoring it.
Yeah.
You know, she's just like, it's just building up. But then the DNA test is a red flag. And it's not even the mother-in-law asking for the DNA test. It's the husband agreeing.
Yes, that's what it is. And I think it's like she saw over and over. And you know what? She was aware of it. She was saying like throughout that time period, like, hey, why isn't he standing up for me? You know, why isn't he like trying to do something?
Because he don't got a backbone.
No, he don't.
His mom's blowing his back out all the time.
But what's this update?
Here's the update. So the day he was supposed to receive the results, I called my father-in-law and invited them to come over that evening.
Ooh.
He was working when he got the results. He sent them to me and told me he would talk to his mother to finally put this to rest. I informed him that I had already invited them for this evening and I'm just waiting for my apology before I leave. I asked that they come home so we can talk before they come over. He called and I basically told him that this is not working for me anymore. I've already talked to an attorney, filed for divorce, and it might be more expensive than a paternity test, but it would be more effective in making his mother happy. Which is obviously what this husband wants. Make mommy happy and not OP.
Damn, OP's dropping bombs over here.
And no, I don't care that he was working when I told him. I don't think you would care either. He left work and came home. Long story short, we had a spectacular fight. He said that I am not thinking about my son and I am overreacting because it's not like he went behind my back. And if he knew that I was this upset, he wouldn't have done it, but he knew. We fought about it when he brought it up, but he just didn't care. When I gave him the divorce papers, he said he's not signing anything and he'll ask his mother to apologize when his parents arrive and get done with this. Listen, I don't need him to sign it to get a divorce. It would just make things complicated. That's it. So basically she's saying like she doesn't need his signature.
Right. It just makes it a little harder, but she's fine with that.
His mother said she has nothing to apologize for. She wouldn't apologize for having suspicions. She didn't accuse me of anything, and I can leave if I wanted to. So that's that. I did leave that night because I wasn't going to get an apology, and he didn't seem to understand that him reinforcing that it's okay for her to meddle is why I want a divorce in the first place. He eventually told his parents he'll be coming over from time to time to check up on them. He is their only child, and not to bother coming over anymore until she apologizes. So basically, it's like, I'm kind of done with you until you apologize.
Wow.
She wasn't amused. She told me I am taking her son away, and some would take my son too. She is not someone that you can talk to, I'll tell you very much. It's like talking to a wall. All she knows is insulting or being passive aggressive on a good day. We're not getting a divorce. We talked the day after. He said I can always file for divorce, but we should try at least couples counseling because he doesn't want to co-parent. He doesn't want to lose his son, plain and simple. Although it's not like if we were to get divorced, he wouldn't be able to see his son, but whatever. He did say when we talked the second time that he can see how he was wrong, especially knowing his mother. He also mentioned that he'll just shut her down if she meddles this time. But what can I do with just words? I hope he can learn a thing or two on how to deal with his mother in counseling because she is truly overwhelming. So there is a little bit more.
Okay.
But it sounds like she's not divorcing him yet.
Sounds like it. I'm kind of surprised, actually.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I was ready to go full on divorce chant.
Right? Come on. Don't rob
I was
us of
excited.
that.
I was excited to
Don't
do my
rob us
little
of that.
divorce. If counseling would help him understand that a couple means two people, not three, and our marriage is a bit crowded right now, that's enough for me. People saying that I am overreacting in my last post made me ask myself, do I actually want a divorce or am I just mad? Which is a good question to ask yourself.
It is a good question to ask.
I wanted the divorce at the time because it seemed like the only solution. But if counseling would help us, I can try to work things out. I hope this is a good decision. If not, I am not stuck. I can just take my mom and leave. I have a friend who got divorced in 20 days, an uncontested divorce. So if it's uncontested, I guess it's like much easier.
Wow.
When you're on the same page regarding how things would be divided, including custody, it's a matter of how long the court would take to review and finalize the divorce, and you'll be done. That was my plan. Nonetheless, I am the one working from home, and my son is still so young, it's totally up to him. If he wants to see his son every day when he gets off work, or if he wants to see his son just a couple of times a week, that's fine too. But I am not tolerating this anymore. Oh, and one last thing. People in my last post were debating if paternity tests should be mandatory or not. I thought that from what I wrote, it was clear I didn't cheat and I have nothing against the paternity test itself. It should be obvious to everyone that it's not fair for the child nor the man to be tricked into living a lie. If he was the one who had suspicions, that's a big deal. We would have talked about why he thinks that, taken the paternity test for his peace of mind, and made sure we can trust each other, then move on. All without anyone interfering, let alone requesting the effing a paternity test. Edit 2, someone asked, curious why they asked for the test and why you're so against it. I don't want to assume there was troubles in the past, but I feel like there's a lot of lead up and information left out here. At this point, I've shared so much that these aren't too many details, I guess. I'm not religious. I also dated women at a certain time. She doesn't like that and thinks that me not being religious or me being not straight means I have no values or something. She hates that her son married a non-religious person. He is a believer, but he's a non-practicing believer. Either way, his religion or my lack of belief doesn't cause us any problems in our day-to-day life. I hope this clarifies things for you. So that is the full shebang. It sounds like she's still staying in it.
Yeah, like I guess like, all right, you know, maybe this was like, you know, there's a warning and then there's like a bomb dropping.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, like he's been shaken out of it. Maybe. So, and you know what?
We'll see if this change holds.
Yeah. And good on her for, you know, giving that chance. I think any time to like pause and just like reflect and
they're going to couples counseling, but it
Yeah.
sounds like she's like, we'll see if this works.
Yeah.
We'll see if this works. And if it doesn't, like I have my original option.
Yes. Not as optimistic.
Yeah. But all right, so like I guess the question I'm at, is asking for a paternity test an automatic relationship ender?
If it's basically saying, I think
you cheated.
Not only is it I think you cheated, had a kid with someone else and tricked me into raising them.
is having that fear worthy of ending the relationship?
It all depends. Like, we've had many stories where they had a fear that was correct.
Yes.
Right. So I totally think there's instances. And to OP's credit, she kind of mentioned like, hey, if there was something where there was some, I don't know if she said evidence, but like some reason why he wanted it other than just his mom wanted it and he was like spinelessly going along with it, then that would have been potentially a different story.
I hope OP ends up in the relationship that is the best for her.
Yes. I pray for that.
I pray for it. Anyway, what would you do if you were OP? Would you divorce, or would you stay with this loser of a guy? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to submit your own story, go to r/okopshow, our subreddit, or you can call us right now and leave us a voicemail.
That's right. 440-508-6567. Send us your stories. See you in the next one.
See you soon.